The alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
A very well good morning to you, our viewers out there. You're most welcome on this program. This is the Alternative Digitalk. We stream live on our Facebook pages, the Alternative Uganda and Digitalk TV. That's where you can find our shows. Then after, we upload our video on our YouTube channel, the Alternative Uganda. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on Twitter you can follow us at the Alternative Uganda. Yeah, tusindikira ka message, kasindike ku Facebook, kasindike ku ka comment ko ku YouTube. We shall be able to kuddamu ekibuuzo kyo if you want anything that you are interested in knowing about Digitalk, about a topical discussion that we have brought on such and such a program and a day. We shall be able to respond to you. I am Katoto Msime hosting this show, tteeka, and we discuss different laws. We discuss their impacts on the citizens. We discuss, the punishments under the same laws, and we discuss whether such laws are good for the good governance of the country, are considerate, preserve and protect the rights of the people and freedoms, among so many other things. Today, we shall have our topic, and we shall be discussing laws as a tool for online repression. In this, tugenda banga tutunulira ensonga erikwene endongosereza gye bakayisa eya Computer Misuse Amendment Act 2022 eryaleetebwa Mwami Nsereko MP we Kampala Central and the Parliament n'eriisa nga 8 September 2022. Then on 13th October 2022, President n'aliisako omukono and lifuuka tteeka. We are only waiting for it to be gazetted so that we can see its implementation. This morning, I'm delighted to host a lawyer. He's a political activist and a politician, I should say, Mr. and Counsel Agaba Nelson. You're most welcome. You have been in this field for so many. You say hello to our viewers, and we can start the discussion today.
Yeah, thank you, the moderator and the Alternative Digitalk TV management for hosting me this morning.
Yeah, you can tell the people something about Nelson. Sorry.
Well, to the viewers, once again, I'm Nelson Agaba, a lawyer, very passionate about the young people's interests in Uganda and in the world, passionate to see good governance and leadership. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. And maybe to also add that I am the National Youth Coordinator in the acting position of the Alliance for National Transformation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nelson. And here, when we are looking at tools of repression, many states, many governments have tried to use the laws. You know, they bring different laws, you know, to curb and replace the people who are anti-government or who actually try to expose the weaknesses of the government. And here we are looking at the Computer Misuse Amendment Act. It is now an act, no longer a bill. And chenjagalo tutandikireko is to educate our viewers out there. How do we come to an amendment of the bill?
Thank you very much once again. To the viewers.
So
No problem.
Okay.
To the viewers, fenna tukimanyi nti Parliament eri constitutionally mandated to legislate or to make laws. Era ye gwomukono gwa government, the arm of government, mandated nti amateeka gonna gutuyina agatuvuga ng'eggwanga n'abannansi b'eggwanga gonna galina kubanga gayita mu Parliament. Nga etteeka nga oluusi wabeerawo etteeka muntu ne balaba nti kuliko ebintu ebisaanidde kubeera nga birina kuba biteekeddwa mu tteeka eryo nga at the time gye baliteerawo nga teririibo ne bagamba katukolemuko endongoserezo.
Yes.
Or mu luzungu mu lufuutifuuti kituyita amendment. So bwetuba nga tutunuulira ku mateeka gaffe gano agayisiddwa, you know, a few days ago president gyataddeko omukono nga parliament emaze gayisa, tulaba nti agamu kwago twalabako Computer Misuse Act Amendment 2022, the Physical Planning Act, the mining, yes,
Mineral Resources
Act. Ebyo olaba nti, you know, amateeka agamu nga Mineral Resources eyo bill ebaddewo ekiseera kinene nga bagitunulamu nga Parliament era bagiyisa. Physical Planning, ffenna twetaaga okulaba nti eggwanga libeera buli kimu kyonna ekikolerwa ku plan.
Yes.
Ensonga endala gyendina naaba bayisa amateeka naye implementation ekibeera ekizibu. Kati ntugenda tutunulira ku Computer Misuse Act amendment gye bataddeko omukono, president w'eggwanga gye yataddeko omukono.
Yes.
Naye n'ogituna n'ogamba kiki ekyaleetera mukulu mubaka Lya Nsereko okuleeta eno amendment,
yes,
you know, the bill. So n'ogitunulira nze nagiyiseemu yonna, nagiyisizaamu amaaso ningitunulira n'amateeka amalala nindaba nti tuwaaliwo ekyetaagisa nnyo kukola amendment eyo. Era it was even a wastage of resources ze Munnayuganda. Nti kubanga endongoserezo gye babadde nga bateekako n'amateeka amalala gabiina oba n'ebirala bataddeko bitutakanya, nze bintakanya n'etteeka kiryaleese. I even see n'amateeka amalala gabiina ne Constitutional Court, even Supreme Court ebimu yabigaanada negamba biri unconstitutional, naye ndaba government egezaako nnyo okubanga ebireeta in another way. We have had a number of things like on freedom of expression. Yes. So era ng'eyo nga sinagenda into the details. We need to understand.
Nga tunagenda waawo. Mweno memorandum Lya Nsereko gye yateeka mu Parliament, he suggests that what inspired this amendment was the experience in the rapid advancement in technology. Okanya, do you agree with him on that statement?
No, the principal act etteeka lyonnyini erya Computer Misuse Act.
Yes.
Twaliraba lyajja mu 2011. So difference eriko between 2011 and now.
That's about 10 years.
That's about, 10 11 years.
Yes.
bw'aba alowooza nti digitalization eyeeyongeddemuko yeerese endowooza y'okuteekako amendment nze siraba na kipya kyataddemu kikapu kyali. I don't see anything for all the clauses and the amendments ziyaleeta n'ateeka mu parliament era president gyayisiza. I don't see anything new.
And
I don't see
he
it.
goes further to say this has led to the adoption of numerous online and social media platforms as a means of communication and interaction. So that was the major alarm that, made him front the same amendment at the time. Isn't that somewhere true?
Nze sirowooza nti tutunuulire ekiri ku paper. We need to see what is the mind.
Because I want to start from what is on the paper before we go
you see,
to what is.
Ugandans, fellow Ugandans, we need to also know the intent and purpose. Olaba, we have seen such ridiculous laws nga zikolebwa era parliament neziisa ne mukulu General Museveni naziteekako omukono nazisayininga naye nitudda mu kooti negamba nti lino etteeka baliisa mu bukyamu oba likontanya ne constitution, etteeka erikulu erivuga eggwanga erya constitution. So sigwe egisoose twalaba public management order act era eyagisponsoringa nti eyisibwe in all things twalaba is the same very person gijakwata the former minister, prime minister Mama Mbabazi.
Their public order management.
Yes. So it is not the first time. We saw in the early 90s the aggressive engineers, putting up laws and again
Matovu.
Having them targeting individuals. A law, the Munnamateeka, there is what we call a law should not be ad hominem.
Yes.
To target individuals, to target an individual, to target a particular group of people. That is a wrong law. And in my opinion, this amendment is expressly targeting a group of individuals, a group of people, social groups that in one way or the other, they are exerting pressure against government. Okay. And in that way, we need to now think, for whatever has been introduced, as we are going to discuss in details, you find that the law is not new to us. What is new now to us is the penalties and the ingredients. Yes. And the ingredients. So they are even trying to put a huge way balance into inze bumbanga nkoze ekintu ekikonta against what the amendment has brought. I will either face more years in jail or even be forced to pay more money as a fine.
Yes.
You will find like the Data Protection Act is there. We have the cyber, the copyright and neighboring act that ntuweziri era ne byalese mwebiri ensonga the difference eriwonti kati this act introduces more penalties and sanctions.
That's the only difference. So should we say that this act is, asymptomatic of a political context? Is it guided by, political divisions among Ugandans and that parliament as a house?
Well, I can just let you know that when you look at the law and because we need to look at what time has this law come? The members of parliament who are in parliament who passed the same bill.
Yes.
The technical committees that was consulted at the time they enacted the Principal Act whether or not, you know, it forgot or it, you know, it had no sight of what has been introduced. In my opinion, and I still state that this law is having a bad intention in it.
Talking about the bad intentions, I want us to rush to now the provisions in this amended act.
Yes.
And the same that were included and assented to by the president.
Yep.
You just give us a highlight of, you know, what captured and what caught your eyes. Ngosoma muri tteeka. What are some of the provisions?
In our one, it's good we have the copy here.
And then it's very nice that we shall inform the viewers out there on something that we know.
Yes. So what we need to understand,
Yes.
Tteeka lino era on freedoms and freedom of speech, it is a non-derogable right.
Okay.
Tulina sooka kitegeera nti constitution yaffe y'eggwanga provides for freedom of expression and speech.
We can also include in the international convention.
Then we also have the international conventions. So
And Uganda is a signatory.
is a signatory, one, to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We have the other international laws, like we have other international laws where we are having the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights.
Correct. So it gives us an opportunity and the right not to comment and express ourselves. through
Exactly.
speech.
Two, we also have, you know, the African chapter, you know, Charter on human and people's rights. So all of that, we see that we are signatory to those international conventions, to those international bodies.
Are we falling short at some point
So
on what we signed?
they have given, they give recognition and parameters,
Yes.
you know, under which the freedom of expression and speech should operate.
Yes.
But herein we are seeing a law introduced falling short of the parameters under which the right itself is recognized,
So
which is really contradictory.
Should we say that at some point, are we being myopic or we forgot on what was included in the same, you know, conventions that we actually part of and we actually adopted them as a country? Should we say we are myopic? Are we lacking something? Or we want to forget everything and move on as a country?
I don't think that, I know, I in my opinion, I know that even Nsereko himself, who is a lawyer, even knows that there is a such, you know, there are such provision. There is Article 9, there is Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, you know, the Article 9 of the African Charter on Human Rights and People's Rights. So he knows. All I can say, he's being intentional. The executive is being intentional to curtail the freedoms of Ugandans in respect to freedom of expression and speech. And that's all. And they think the moment they bring this law into, you know, they bring such into law, they will be able to suppress and censure the voices that are there to counter whatever government does, which is not in interest of Ugandans. There is a lot out there that happens.
Yes.
You know, so this law, as we are going to discuss in details, is really badly intended.
And that's where we're heading to.
Badly intended.
That's
for
where
such
we're
times
heading
like
to.
this.
On
Yeah.
what caught your eyes when perusing through this amended act? Some of the provisions.
I will just tell you, to just say, when you look at the provisions of this act, and we are going to just highlight. You know, one by one, if time allows.
Okay.
So the analysis of this law, when you look at it, and I need us to say,
Yeah.
one, they are bringing issues that now that you cannot even know who are they targeting. They are saying aspects of, when you look at section clause 2 of the amendment of section 12,
Yes.
it talks of the amendment to bring in a person who intentionally accesses or intercepts any program or data without authority or permission. So we see that this is not the first time this very clause. We have it. We have the same. We have the same thing. We have it in the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act, number 13 of 2006, which also provides for limitations and exceptions in the access of copyright.
Yes.
Now, when you look at what this law has introduced, it is in conflict, total conflict, with the limitations that we are provided, or exceptions that we are provided for by the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act. That now, even for the academia, now that's why people need to understand that even the academia now,
even the journalists
the academia, the research,
lawyers themselves,
the students who are even doing research, they are even, in a way, for me to make research and quote, Orako Nyango's book, or quote, Bachivinga's book, or any Nelson Nileima's book, is that I have to seek for permission.
Yes.
They have forgotten to see that there are other limitations or exceptions to what is called fair use. When you totally deny me access to information, it means that you're even limiting the scope of the academia in as far as research is concerned.
Yes.
That's something that you need to look at.
Should I say that we needed, the scope where this authorization, as it is used under this act, to be defined maybe in the interpretation
Exactly,
section?
that's what I'm saying. In a way, this law is vague. There is the vagueness. It is ambiguous in nature. So once the law is ambiguous in nature, it is bound to be challenged. But also, the law will be, the people will break that law. Because it is ambiguous, it is not very clear. Yeah. So when you look at that very thing, in a way, you first ask, what is the definition
what
of
level of
intercept?
authorization do I need?
What is, what defines access? Because is it gaining entry? You get it? What is it? So the basis, we need to really look at what exactly is access, what amounts to access, what is the limitation or exceptions to accessing information, what amounts to fair access
of the same information. Fair use as a complete defense.
Yes. So we need to look at it. But
on the same section,
yeah,
the punishment for a person who commits an offense under this section is liable on a conviction to a fine not exceeding 750 currency points, or imprisonment not exceeding 10 years or both.
Yeah.
How is that punishment in regards to the existing law, the principle of the same act?
Very, 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 very interesting. We need to understand that now the same offense that they introduced here, when you look at the Data Protection and Privacy Act, that very act talks of the and the Principal Act itself talked of the punishment of the liability of the same of 240 currency points. That was about 4.8 million.
Millions. It's now about 15 million.
And the imprisonment not exceeding 14 years.
Yes.
Now, here we are seeing the Computer Misuse Act coming into saying that it has increased the penalty from 240 currency points to 750. That is from 4.8 million to 15 million.
Oh, plus.
Or plus. So what does that mean? It means that we are going to have more Ugandans going to jail because they cannot afford
the penalty.
the penalty of 15 million. And as I stated, this law is bad, is having a bad intention in it, to have many young people who are trying to express their freedom. Actually, here you're having Agaba Nelson, someone who is trying to say, look, I am expressing, I'm enjoying my right, guaranteed by the Constitution, guaranteed by the Universal Human Rights Declaration, guaranteed by the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, guaranteed by the African Charter on Human Rights and People's Rights, on Human and People's Rights. Bringing the Computer Misuse Act amendment to say, look, now Agaba, all of those other laws don't matter.
What matters?
What matters is this law.
We go.
Which
and
is very
continue
wrong.
To section 3 that amends
Yes.
section 22,
Which
that
talks of
about unauthorized sharing of information about children. Didn't we have such kind of a provision in the existing law?
the same thing. We need to see, when you look at this law, where it says the section 22A now, that prohibition of unauthorized sharing of information about children.
And then where you need consent from the child,
From the parent and all
guardian,
that.
or any other person.
But we see, we still had the same, we had the same section, which was talking about section 25 of the Principal Act, which was in respect of offensive communication, you know, which was covered under section 25 of the Principal Act.
Yes.
So when you look at the same, they are talking of that you couldn't share that offensive communication, you know, and it all encompass the rights and freedoms in respect to privacy, that you should not put out their information that is unauthorized.
Yes.
In case, so what the Principal Act provided for was that you do not need to disturb the peace and the right of privacy of a person.
Yes.
And the same thing, you're going to see that you wanted to. By the way, we need also to understand that the same the same provision is challenged. It was challenged in the Constitutional Court, and we are waiting to have court pronounce itself. Probably government, who are the major sponsors of the law through Lya Nsereko under the Private Members Bill, is that they might have anticipated the outcome of the constitutional petition. You get it? So, and they are saying that, look, now by the time this law is, if it is challenged, let us bring another law in the meantime to be using. So we are going to have many petitions in court pronouncing themselves on the same thing. We have had Charles Onyango and Andrew Mwenda versus the Attorney General, on the same point.
Freedom of expression.
Freedom of expression and speech. And the Supreme Court actually pronounced itself and said it was unconstitutional. Someone has to have freedoms.
So that they can freely
express themselves, to have freedom of speech, to have, publications and all that. So, in my opinion, government seems to be considered defeat in courts of law, which courts are mandated to interpret the law passed by a parliament, and in a way they are seeking to introduce the same thing. That's why I'm saying that in my opinion, this bill, the time they spent, the resources they spent, it was a wastage of time. It will be the same law that will be challenged. It will not take 3-4 days or even weeks. I have seen there is even a petition, that is already as
you have filed a petition already.
The same, I think, the Digitalk, Alternative Uganda, and 12 others have filed a petition against the Attorney General, and we are going to have the same. There is no difference with the Anyangobo, with the same case of Nsamba and 2 others versus the Attorney General, the constitutional petition number 15 of 2017 that is in court. We are just waiting for challenging the same very law.
Should we say that by trying not to suffocate the freedom of expression and speech, is there any kind of information the public and the government and maybe the officials in the same government, is there any kind of information they are trying to hide from us? Because the moment you cut and suffocate the freedom of expression and speech, it means you are limiting some information flow to the rest of the public. What could be such kind of information that they are trying to hide?
You're going to see the hidden and the unknown within this law when we come to unsolicited information.
Unsolicited information.
So, what does that mean? It means that for us who are in WhatsApp groups, family groups, wedding groups, Facebook and all that, now it has even put more more weight, a higher weight to say, look, for those that are in WhatsApp groups, family groups, wedding groups, that one cannot share information in that group unless it has been requested.
That is under Section 5 of this amendment.
Of the amendment.
Unsolicited information.
Unsolicited information.
And it goes...
so the question is, what is
a person shall not send to or share with another person unsolicited information through a computer. Now, my question on the same point will be, what yardstick shall we use? What yardstick will be used to measure the level of and the kind of unsolicited information and the purpose? What that kind of information is trying to create and to send to the rest of the public.
And
are we considering the same, or we just want every kind of message and information or video not to be shared unless somebody solicits for the same information?
Even that's why I said in the first place that this law is vague. It is totally vague, to an extent that now it does not define what amounts to unsolicited information.
I tried to look for it under the interpretation section.
They don't have it. I have the same act here. And you don't have it. So the question is, what is it? That we are having these social groups, OBs and OGs of, I am an old boy of Namirembe Hillside High School. I am an alumni of Uganda Christian University.
Okay.
We have these other, law groups where we are, class groups. What happens? So they are trying to even make it so hard for such, the intent and purpose of why such groups and such technological advancement, forums are formed.
So they are trying to.
So for every information that is, if I have not requested that share this, I will not share. So in short, they are saying they are banning social groups. They are banning WhatsApp. They are banning Telegram. They are banning, class groups, wedding groups, family groups. That I cannot share anything. So it is really vague in nature.
Section 4.
Very, very vague.
Trying to amend Section 23 of the Principal Act.
Yeah.
About hate speech.
Yeah.
What is your, your view and oversight over the same hate speech? That is even not clear, and we cannot know which kind of information now amounts to hate speech. And how shall we measure that the information spread, the information shared, actually creates and promotes hate speech among the public?
So it complicates. It complicates the drawing of a line between freedom of expression and hate speech. It complicates it completely. So I have a right, a freedom, guaranteed by virtue of that I am a citizen of Uganda, to speak, to express my feeling, express my opinion. And in a way here you're saying that opinion should not be in any way creating hate. So when you look at this very law, it really in its nature, it is really limiting, really limiting, and it constrains every Ugandan out there that now we have to only give praises to individuals, to government, praises to whatever is within our face. For anything that is contrary, to give a challenge, because if I challenge you on something, I may have annoyed you because I have challenged you.
That's where the problem
and is. And now if I challenge you legitimately, it means that I have annoyed you. Hate speech.
You will be charged.
I will be charged that I have challenged
of
you.
about 15 million, that's 750 currency points.
And I will be required to pay that money.
For a period not exceeding 7 years or both.
Yeah.
That's where we are heading to, Mr. Nelson. We proceed to misleading and malicious information, because I see time.
Yeah.
It's not really doing us.
Yes. Malicious information and misleading information.
And maybe before you come in, we should consider that if Nelson now records a video and sends it to Kato, that includes the message that the other people, the Nserekos, believe is misleading.
Yes.
I share the same message to Mr. Rogers and to the rest and to Digitalk as a whole.
Yes.
Then I will be charged under the same act, because I have shared the information, first of all, without the authorization of the person
without their consent.
We are talking about, because they have not consented. Where does that leave this?
And in the same thing, you see, we had a remedy on if I share a malicious information or a misleading information. You would, say you would take me to court and say this is defamation. Okay? And the law has been there. So if you to go ahead, try and introduce it here to say, look, Ugandans about malicious information and all that, we have it under the Data Protection Act. We have the same. We have the same. We had the same, or even we have the same law there. So you ask yourself, really, what is the intention of this? So the extent of whatever they wanted to cover is already covered under the Section 25 of the Data Protection Privacy Act, which provides for the right of to prevent processing of personal data, and it can be, you can be charged under there. I don't know why they had to bring it here. They are bringing it here, bringing a higher burden that if 15 young people are caught under the same, they cannot afford the 15 million. So they were sanitizing the penalty. So I think they thought it was going to be easily noticed to every Ugandan if they said we are amending the penalty provided for under the Data Protection Act, under the Principal Act, to the 750 currency point, which is about 15 million. So Nsereko would have really openly said, I am making it hard for everyone who's caught on the wrong side of the law to be put to chitalia, or even to put up a defense. And even when one is convicted, they find it so hard to pay a fine. They find it so hard to put up a defense, because here they are putting a wide scope.
Yes.
For someone that every Tom, Dick and Harry will be caught. There is there is a huge net now for government to get Ugandans, you know, on the wrong side of the law.
I believe, and as somebody who has
Which
been
is really
following
wrong, yeah.
precedents, especially on issues that are concerning with defamation,
Yeah.
I think courts have been clear to define what amounts to defamation and when can somebody, you know, make a cause of action against another person for defaming them. Is this actually same amendment tackling and bringing out what amounts to malicious information and misleading?
It is duplication, and I said it in the first place. This law is a total duplication of already existing laws.
Doesn't this, you
The
know, bring
only
out
difference here is, from what I read, the intention of the lawmaker is to make it hard to even create a wide, a huge net to get Ugandans
Doesn't this out actually
on the wrong side
make
of the
it clear on the point of the speaker while, you know, passing out this bill?
law. Yeah.
On the statements she made on live, on camera,
Yes.
saying that they should pass it the way it is so that they can give courts of law what to do.
The same thing I said. I know courts of law have pronounced themselves on the same issues
She was clear.
in
she made the
respect
same
of freedom
statements.
of expression and speech, in respect of digital rights. So it is not new. They are just, it is it maybe, I don't know, for whatever intended purpose. You may find to someone it was capital. It was just, you know, a form of earning, hoodwinking government and the so powers, pleasing the powers that be, saying, look, let something come in, and for me, I do the job. What if it is challenged? I don't care.
I don't
so
care.
we need to really
That's what she meant maybe
understand.
by giving courts what to do. And thank you, Mr. Nelson,
Yeah.
and all our viewers watching tteeka show on the Alternative Digitalk. We have quite a number, a few questions here, and you will help me answer the same. One is Mugerwa Peter, who asks and says, so Mr. Lawyer has just known about it. I think he's talking about the law. Where were you when it was still discussed as a bill? Why are you not questioning the input of your representatives as MPs? Did they fail us? Are we blaming Nsereko only? What was the percentage of the resistance against for the so-called MPs of the people? Why are they silent? This is Peter for you.
Thank you, Peter. You see, the law, or the nature of laws, and I appreciate him,
Yes.
that there is always a wide scope of how to remedy what is wrong.
Exactly.
One, constitutionally, every Ugandan is mandated to challenge, you know, such ridiculous law in the, you know, in the constitutional court. Okay?
Yes.
Or I also have a right to break it.
Break it. The way you want to break it.
Yes, I have a right to break it, and alternatively to even you know, in a civil disobedient matter, defy against such a ridiculous law. So it's not that it is the first time I'm making my point right. Maybe it is his first time to follow up on how I have been asserting myself against the same law.
He's asking the question, why are you not questioning the input of your MPs, of your representative as MPs? And he adds and says, what was the percentage of the resistance against for the so-called MPs of the people?
And maybe, and I will just speak and say, when you look at Parliament,
Yeah.
in a way, it has betrayed many Ugandans, including myself.
Okay.
For example, in this law, how could Parliament allow this law? Unless if it was motivated in some way to pass. You know, now Parliament has become a rubber stamp of the executive. And, you know, Parliament has also been reduced to a business center of sorts of some individuals. So we need, as Ugandans now, also the burden falls on us on what kind of representatives or representation we put to Parliament to represent our views.
But I will give an example of somebody who presented this bill on the floor of Parliament, who is a lawyer. I will give an example of the Speaker, who is a lawyer, and who understands, the procedures and what should be done. In case you're bringing an amendment, what should be considered?
Yeah, well,
what happened to them? Did they forget the certain principles that govern,
but
legislation? Or what should
we also understand that, in a way, our Parliament as of today,
yes,
is not the befitting, the name Parliament, the members that are there are not befitting of what Parliament should be. They have sold themselves to a price to the executive.
Okay.
And that reduces them the moral authority, the moral ground to resist even what is bad for Ugandans in the name of praising the executive, because they serve the executive. So if such law, for whatever intent and purpose on the optics and the politics, of having such a law passed, one, the executive, the ruling regime, which is the NRM, holds the majority number of members of Parliament.
Yes.
That I know there is we have the opposition in Parliament who put their dissatisfaction in the in the passing of this law.
I was looking at the report, and actually members of the opposition
Exactly.
who have been key players in journalism.
Yes.
And advocates, as they call themselves, advocates of freedom of expression and speech, being the first people actually to sign and accept that this bill should be amended the same way it is here.
Well, now it gets back to us Ugandans. We need to hold our leaders accountable. If these leaders who have, not the first time passing such laws, and we all know that we have had a number of, scenarios where Parliament is just, there is a back kick within Parliament for such laws to pass in the name of protecting or to praise the executive. We need to check them. Those that supported such a bill to be passed, and here it is a law against the freedoms of speech and expression and many others inside there. We need to really have them held accountable by not sending it back into to Parliament in 2026.
But before we wait for 2026, this is 2022, and here we are having such draconian laws, such laws that even lack value to many of us who think the same way.
Remedies don't end.
How far shall we go with the same act, same amendments for the next about 4 years? And you're saying we should leave them and
avenues are there. One, if a law is passed in a ridiculous manner, is passed with bad intention, it is, in the opinion of Ugandans, it is unconstitutional. It is unconstitutional, in respect of what we have as our grand norm, the Constitution. We ought, or we have a right to challenge it. And I believe many petitions are going to be filed in court to it to be challenged, and it shall be challenged. It's not the first time a law is passed by Parliament and it is challenged in the Constitutional Court or the Supreme Court. So Parliament need to really try as much as possible to ensure that it gains the trust of a citizen. Where it is as of today, many Ugandans have lost trust in what Parliament does. And it's quite bad for the, for the generations to come, for the years to come, to find that we have a Parliament that is that is trusted by Ugandans, but here it has lost the entire trust. It should be trusted by Ugandans. And here now, there is no trust equally. There is no trust, that you're having a Parliament that you trust that it will really assert itself Not at all. Because it has sold itself to the executive at a price that we have always had. 29 million, 20 million, 5 million. You have had. You know, the 5 million, the 29 million, the 40 million, that we always hear about. And it's not the first time such things are done.
As we are almost coming to the conclusion of this show, Mr. Nelson, is this the most important amendment, or was this the most important law that we needed as a country at the time? Was it the biggest problem we are facing as people that, you know, had to be that quick to be passed by Parliament and, you know, assented to by the President? Or we have had bills in State House and, you know, no Parliament for how many years?
Yeah, we have had many bills, you know, for this one, quickly, you know, and even the circumstances. The time it was passed, it was the time they created so much noise about nyege, and here they were passing the law. Destruction. You know,
so Ugandans
don't know
so that
most of these things, the nyege noise. As there was a nyege noise, the members of Parliament were passing the bill. So all Ugandans were diverted to the nyege bill, the nyege saga, noise, whereas the Parliament was passing such a ridiculous law. Very, 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 very absurd.
That is Nelson for you, our dear viewers out there. And Nelson, as we come to the conclusion, I would want you to use about 2 or 3 minutes. You know, give out the picture. Are you also joining the petitioners to file a petition? Are you going to use civil resistance? Are you going to, to break the same law? Are you going to use any other means, of challenging the same law? Are you going to Parliament, to tell the Speaker to change? What are you going to do as a citizen who is concerned, about the freedom of digital users, about the freedom of expression and speech? What is your take and what are you going to do as Nelson?
For me, I can tell you.
Yes.
Not only. Even this morning, if we are to do a sample space,
yes,
people who have committed an offense.
We are so many.
We are so many.
Because you have talked about people.
We have talked about the same law we are challenging. So probably Nsereko, and others might be now annoyed, and they are saying, Nelson and Kato, Mr. Moderator, you have created hate speech. Or today morning, most of us have shared information in our WhatsApp group.
That was unsolicited for.
Family groups, wedding group, that was unsolicited. And we have already committed an offense. So this law is bound to be broken. That's what I can say. Number 2, for me, I can say I am total in support of challenging this very law in courts of law, and we need to see it challenged. We just pray that let the judiciary, the arm that we trust, it can save Ugandans against such ridiculous laws. So I just, I'm available to join into this petition to challenge such ridiculous law, which is meant to frustrate and curtail the freedoms of expression and speech of every Ugandan. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And where is your future as politician, especially when we have this law gazetted? You're not going to rot behind bars?
No. I can tell you, if they want, maybe if they want to leave this law, even if today, if they gazetted it, let it be gazetted, and you see, that very week or even in one day, maybe they have to create more cells. No prisons, because if they want, unless, and as I said, if this law is meant to target individuals, then they will just leave others and they will say, Agaba, now you have committed an offense. Even when the same offense has been committed by all Ugandans, doing the same thing, but they want to target individuals to see, especially the opposition, especially the uprising voices against the atrocities of government. That's what this law is majorly looking up to. That now, Nelson, you will have no corner. I can be there. If they want Nelson Agaba, I will be. There is no way how I can escape to be in Luzira. that I will be
Under
at,
the same roof.
yes. They would say, Nelson, today you have shared unsolicited information in, let's say,
promoted hate speech.
Yes, you have
malicious
promoted hate
information, and
speech
it
by
was misleading.
So I am looking at something. We have had, they are talking of sharing videos of young people, you know, unsolicited information. Here you're having someone trying to protect a right
Of a child.
who
you
is
need their
being
consent.
abused by a guardian, by a helper, by anybody out there. Saying, look, Ugandans, this is what is happening. We have been helping police.
Someone made a comment and he was like, yesterday, he was like, when you see somebody stealing, you should be asking them, take a video of Uncle Eki. Because that's the authorization.
No, that's why we have reached that. You are looking at a thief doing robbery. You want to have documentary evidence of a video, and now you have to ask the thief or the robber to say, should I take a video or I shouldn't? Eh?
Thank you so much, Mr. Nelson,
Very
for
absurd
this
for
show.
such
It
a
has been a wonderful show, and thank you our viewers out there who have been following this show. You know, to take home point is that this is not a responsibility of the lawyers, us the lawyers. It's not a responsibility of the journalists, but this is a responsibility of everybody who feels and who can access an electronic device as a computer, because the moment you use your computer or your device in spreading any information, it may be categorized as something that is malicious, misleading, and unsolicited for. We have forgotten one big point, that the lawmakers did not focus on the person who has actually recorded the video that I am trying to share. That is left on the side. And then the rest is that I am calling upon everybody out there who has the capacity. If you don't have the capacity, at least support somebody who has the capacity, so that you can petition and, you know, fight against such bad laws. You cannot always leave the laws to be made by people who are very hungry and angry for one reason or the other. People who are actually, you know, selfish to keep making the same laws for their benefits and interests. And I will call upon everybody. Like Nelson said, I don't know, if you want to come for me, I am available, but we should break this law until, you know, the courts pronounce themselves on its illegality and constitutionality and vagueness. And by saying that, I should tell you that the petitions are still going on. File a petition, support somebody petitioning. We should show them that we are not interested in such laws. We have very much and bigger issues to comment about, bigger issues to legislate about, and not, you know, making quite a number of many amendments, many bills, which are at the end of it all useless and informative, and I don't know what drives you there. See you next Tuesday as we host some other persons to talk about different things that affect us as a public. I shall see you next Tuesday, and have a lovely afternoon.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.